What's going on, y'all? It's JD Piquel. Today on the Hard Count, is Stetson Bennett still being disrespected? We will discuss next. Welcome into the Hard Count, the people show for every single thing that you know and that you love about college football. It happens here on a daily basis. Nick Brake doing the heavy lifting. You can help drive the show by subscribing to the channel. We're available on podcast. Apple, we're there. Spotify, we're there. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find the Hard Count. Our Week 2 preview is out right now. That is linked in the description. Make sure you go and check that out. So we got to talk about this question that I have for us. Is Stetson Bennett still receiving disrespect? Maybe even more so, why is Stetson Bennett still being disrespected after winning a national title, after absolutely balling out and taking Georgia the length of the season outside of that first game and getting them to points they had never been before without him, or not never been, but places they hadn't been in a really long time without him? Why is there still this slander happening? Well, after week 1, I think you probably silenced a percentage of that slander, but I want to talk about ultimately what is going on and how are we still convincing ourselves that Stetson Bennett isn't who he's convinced us he, or who he's proven he is multiple times on the field. And I think the first place we have to start with this Stetson Bennett slander is we are, as people, as a community, as a society, we are so hung up on how things look, on the optics of things, even more so the comparison nature of things. You look at the college football playoff a season ago, and here's the 4 quarterbacks that were in it. Stetson Bennett, obviously, Bryce Young, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati, and Cade McNamara from Michigan. Those are the 4 starting quarterbacks. Of those 4, Stetson Bennett had the fewest amount of yards passing. Again, I understand he didn't start that first game, but for the most part, had just as many opportunities as everybody else in this grouping, and he threw for the least amount of yards. If you consider yourself an elite program, which Georgia absolutely does and absolutely should, you expect to have 5-star quality all over the place. And Stetson Bennett is a walk-on. We'll get to more on that in a second, but Stetson Bennett isn't that 5-star that you've come to expect across your roster at Georgia. He didn't come in with that all-American kind of billing. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. He's not looking like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes out there. He's a pretty pedestrian-looking human being that just goes about his business, completes passes, gets it to their talented playmakers, does his job. And the fact that we don't see him putting up these video game-like numbers, we don't see him throwing for 6 touchdowns a game like another cat down there at Alabama who got the Heisman Trophy in his apartment in Tuscaloosa. That's why I think we get hung up. Because what Stetson Bennett is and how he looks and how he operates is a little bit of a different pace and different tempo and ultimately a different perception than the rest of not just this Georgia roster, but a lot of other programs, a lot of other quarterbacks in his competitive space in the SEC. On the national landscape. We put Stetson Bennett in our mind in a different place because, quite frankly, he's got freak shows all around him, so that kind of makes him in some way, shape, or form, I don't want to say a step down, but you just put him in a different space in your mind ultimately, but also they ask different things of Stetson Bennett than Alabama does of Bryce Young. Stetson Bennett, for a lot of the time last year at Georgia, was given the responsibility to manage the offense and get the ball to those 5-stars. That was his job, and he did it to nearly perfection en route to them winning the national title. The second piece of this kind of goes along with that whole thing of optics and how things look and how we perceive them to be, but labels. I don't know if you realize it or not, but we have labeled Stetson Bennett multiple times. We have given him numerous labels that he is now continuing to shed and move on and prove that he is not those labels that we gave him early in his career. Because Stetson Bennett, originally the billing was walk-on. That was his label. Walk-on quarterback that Georgia is winning in spite of. That Georgia is allowing to have success because of everything around him. That was his label. He's lucky to be here. He's driving a really good car in this Georgia offense with a bunch of talent around him, but he's still a walk-on. Okay, he says, fine, I'll go to JUCO. I'll come back, get a scholarship, we win a national title. We still have that walk-on block in our mind for whatever reason. Not all of us, but a fair percentage of the population still has that label on him. The second piece is, well, he's good, he's not great. He's serviceable. You kind of know what you have in him. Good, not great. Because we saw Stetson Bennett play for Georgia before this national title run, and that was the label that we put on him. And that's not an unfair billing, but to the same token, human beings, we evolve, right? We progress, we experience things, we get better. And Stetson Bennett has done that in large part over his 37 years playing college football at Georgia. That's something that he's been able to draw from and continue to trend upward. Now, it hasn't been a smooth incline the entire time. There's been plateaus at points, and there's been even troughs, but for the most part, continues to trend upward, continues to eventually reach that higher point. And we're seeing that right now. We're seeing him continue to surpass whatever box we had put him in as a society in this college football landscape. Because right now, he is continuing to get better. He is improving. He just had arguably his best game of his career against Oregon this past Saturday. And in addition to that, the team is growing with him. This offense is now more experienced than it was a season ago, especially at key playmaker positions. Brock Bowers, a year better. A.D. Mitchell, a year better. Darnell Washington, a year better. So not only is Stetson Bennett continuing to improve, but the pieces around him are continuing to improve as well, which is why I think you see Georgia starting to open it up a little bit more offensively. Now, will that be the flavor for them the rest of the season? Who's to say? But with the way that Stetson Bennett is progressing, I think it's about time we start giving him the respect he is due. Because I will be the first to admit it. Going into this season, I thought, hey, we probably know who Stetson Bennett is. We probably know what we have in him. He's not going to show us anything that's going to be that new, that groundbreaking. What does he do? Just goes out and has the best day of his career yardage-wise, throws the ball all over the field, shows you that he's mobile, shows you he can be a threat with his legs, which we sort of already knew, but he showed that he's even progressed in that manner and how he moves around in the pocket and evades the rush. And there's so much about him that I think we need to not put a lid on this kid's potential. Even though he has been playing college football for a long time, he's continuing to get better. And that is a scary thing for the rest of the country. It's a scary thing for all the Stetson Bennett doubters. I'm on the bandwagon. Roll, party, roll. That's it for us here on The Hard Count. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JDPakel to stay up with every single thing that we're doing here on The Hard Count. We want you along for the ride. So we're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.